promised the world and a dozen roses. Hello, my friends. This is your friendly neighborhood lion, and I'm here at past 3 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. I believe it is February 6th, 2016, the day before the Super Bowl, the day before the Panthers play the Broncos. Go Broncos, by the way. They're my second favorite team. And I want to talk to you guys about the thoughts from a lion. I'm going to do another video, another sub-series into this collection. And basically I'm going to talk about research for a few minutes, scientific research. So if this doesn't interest you, then you can just shut off the video and you can go watch something else, or you can go do something else. But I want to talk about science and research, and the future of research, and the future of academics here for a little bit here. So, I got my ideas all up on the screen, and one of the things that I believe is there is a lot, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to point out one thing, but there are a lot of flaws in the current academic system, in the current education system, in the way we intertwine, and the way we interact with information, the way we interact with knowledge in this day and age, and the way we give information and education to the students and to the teachers even, and to the professors in this point in time. How can we fix these problems? Well, in my opinion, let's talk about the brain for a second. One of the things is we need to take the two-dimensional plane, the x and y axis, we need to take this reading a book and we need to grab it and we need to turn it into a three-dimensional plane. We need to make it something that is malleable. We need to make it something that is manipulatable, if that's even a word. We need to be able to manipulate it. So the brain, imagine a cerebral cortex, a corpus callosum, all these different parts of the brain. Imagine them together, right? In a book, on a piece of paper, okay? In my opinion, in my lifetime, I hope, and even if not, even if I'm passed away, even if I'm in the ground 6 feet down, we need to take that cortex, we need to take those neurons, the cerebrum, that's the word I'm looking for. We need to take the cerebrum, take it from a two-dimensional plane, x and y axis on the page, up and down, right, like this, and we need to add a z axis. We need to add dimension to it. We need to add a third dimension to it so that we can have it sit in front of us. That is what I believe would be the next step in human education. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know what the absolute best thing is, what the absolute way to perfection is, the road to perfection in education. No. But given the knowledge that I have, the experience that I had, the education that I grew up with, the next step, logical step to me, is to take that two-dimensional plane and turn it into three dimensions so that you can grab the brain itself, the anatomy of the human body or whatever subject that you're studying, and pull it out of the page so that you can hold a brain in your hands like this. Just like Iron Man. If you've seen the movie Iron Man or the Avengers, things like this, he has the laboratory in his basement where he can interact with holograms. And that's essentially what I'm getting at here, is holograms to some degree. And imagine a brain, and then you can have arrows pointing at the brain in all different directions, and you can move. You can grab the brain and move it apart, and talk about the different areas of the brain, the arcuate fasciculus, it's hard to pronounce, the corpus callosum, all the different neural connections between the different hemispheres, the different lobes. That's what I believe is the future. That's what I believe is the next step, logical step in human education and human interaction with knowledge, is to take a two-dimensional plane and turn it into a three-dimensional plane. So let's pretend that I'm a professor. Let's pretend I'm standing in front of thousands of human beings. I'm standing in front of thousands of people, and they all have their own desk, right? They all have their own desk, and I'm standing on a platform. I have, let's say 10 by 10 feet, right? Whatever, 10 by 10 feet. That's it. That's the amount I get, okay? And my platform, it has lights that arise from it, that are, pointing upward, pointing in a vertical direction, and I can grab those lights, pull them apart, pull them together, throw them away, throw them over my shoulder, do whatever I want. Throw them to the human beings, throw them to my students. And on their desk, each one of them has their own desktop, right? And they have their own brain. They can spin it, they can tip it over, they can do whatever they want. They can pull it apart, make it bigger, make it smaller, pull it apart, pull different pieces out, do whatever they want. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know how to code any of these things. This is all for the engineers, for the physicists to figure out what gestures mean what, you know what I mean? What gesture makes it pull apart? What gesture is going to make it shrink? What gesture do you do with your fingers, with your hands, that means you're pointing at a certain neuron or a certain cell within the brain, or a certain cell within the heart or the lungs or the liver? I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know what the coding or what the technology would entail for this. I'm just thinking way down the road, years and years down the road, where this becomes a reality and I can then teach with this technology. That's what I believe. So let's pretend I'm talking about the corpus callosum. The corpus callosum, however you want to pronounce it, which is the bundle of axons, the bundle of neurons that connect the two hemispheres, the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere, or the left and right, depending on how you're looking at my screen right now, okay? This is what lets you connect both sides of the brain and lets you interact with different hemispheres, different lobes of the brain. Women, by the way, this is just a fun fact for you neuroscientists out there, for those of you that are scientifically inclined, women have about 10 to 15% more axons that connect both sides of the brain. So what does this mean? They can relay the feelings, the emotions that they have on the right side of the brain over to the left side of the brain, to the Wernicke's area, to the Broca's area. The different parts of the brain that process and initiate language and movements of the tongue and movements of the vocal cords and movements of the muscles inside of the brain, movements inside of the muscles inside of the mouth, inside of the throat, that allow us to articulate words. They have about 10 to 15% more of these connections there. So they're better with language. That's hands down on the table. That's a fact. You don't need to listen to me. Go look this up for yourself. It's a fact. They're better with language. So let's say we're talking about that. If I was a professor and I'm standing there in front of my students, I could have a brain sitting in front of me, right? But it's a hologram. I can make it big, make it as big as I want, make it as small as I want. I could slice it in half. I could then turn one hemisphere, show it to the students, turn the other hemisphere, show it to the students, turn it the other way, flip it upside down, flip it around, throw one away, you know what I mean? Take a certain segment out of the brain, throw the rest away, and then take that segment and expand it, contract it, make it smaller, make it bigger. These are the types of things that I believe that technology is going towards, that education is going towards, as opposed to just stimulating our brains on a piece of paper, looking at a piece of paper and saying, okay, here's some words, here's a little graph, blah, 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 whatever, what have you. We need to stimulate the different senses that we have. We need to stimulate our eardrums. We need to stimulate our noses, our mouths, if it's possible, feelings, if there's a way to interact where you can touch it, where it can vibrate, where somehow we can feel what is there. All these different things allow us to remember things, allow us to remember objects and information better, as opposed to just seeing something or hearing something. You want to connect all the different senses together. That's how you remember things the best. That's why human beings, in my opinion, when we're together, especially significant others, you remember them more than most of the situations that you're ever in throughout your entire life, because all of these senses are being stimulated at the exact same time. Therefore, you're taking neurons from all different segments of the brain, all different parts of the brain, and you are linking them together through the hippocampus, the thalamus, through the corpus callosum, and you are linking them all together. You are converging them into one synergistic interaction. You are taking all the different senses and you are making them become one. So it is easy for you to recollect. It is easy to remember how your girlfriend smells. It is easy for you to remember how your boyfriend moved, or how he sounded, or how he looked. Get it? So in my opinion, when I'm a professor, I would love it. That would be my dream. I have many dreams. One of my dreams would be to be a professor and to have this type of technology at my disposal, where I can pull up a brain in front of me just like this, expand it or contract it, and throw it at my students. And then it would appear right in front of their desks. And then they could spin it, they could flip it over, they could interact with it in any given way that they wanted. I believe that would facilitate learning on such an exponential basis as compared to what is going on in today's society. I guess I'll just throw this one in at the end because it's already past 10 minutes. It's getting close to 11 minutes now. One of my research ideas, just something I would like to do, is I would like to take samples of a bloodstream of a human being when giving any type of public speech, because we know, you can look this up, we know that the number one fear, at least in America, I don't know, I'm not going to speak on the world because I don't know if this is true for the entire world, but in the United States of America, the number one fear, as of I think it was 2014, this might change year by year, but as of 2014, I believe, the number one fear in the entire United States is public speaking. What does that mean? That means people are the most afraid of getting up, standing in front of other human beings that are looking at you, that are judging you, that are analyzing you while you speak to them, while you release words in front of their eyes, in front of their ears. That is the number one fear that we have. So, a research idea that I've had is I would love to have a real-time measurement of the bloodstream. I'm pointing here because this is where the IV goes normally when we take blood. I don't know what would be better, where to have the IV all over the body. It could be anywhere. You can take blood from any part of the body. But I would love to have an interactive, not really interactive, sorry, to have a real-time reading on what's going on in the hormones and the neurotransmitters of any given human being when they're standing in front of other individuals giving a speech. And then we can break this down and we can make this super nitty gritty and we can put them in different situations with a different amount of audiences, versus 10 people in the audience versus 100 people versus 1,000 people. And then we can make it even more. We can say just a person give a speech on something that they want to talk about. We can have them talk about within and between subject designs. These are all different types of scientific designs and experiments. 99% of you won't know what I'm talking about when I say within or between subject designs. We can have them say, some of them will talk about things they don't want to talk about and give a speech on that. We can have some of them say things that they do want to talk about, things that they enjoy, and then we can have things that they're passionate about. Or then we can have a third subject pool of people that say, here, read this script. This is something a completely novel, a novel script, something you have no idea about. It's not that you have a positive or negative affinity, a positive or negative valence to this subject. You were just going to read the script that we give you in front of a certain amount of people. This one experiment could go in so many different ways. It's unbelievable. It really is. I would love to see what's going on inside of the blood, inside of the hormones, inside of the liver, inside of the kidneys, all these different things that are going on at any given time inside of the brain and the heart when we're public speaking, when we're getting around and talking to different people. Okay? All right, everybody. Sorry for taking up so much of your time. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please comment down below any of your thoughts. Ask me questions, guys. Keep asking me questions. I need more questions. I love answering all of your questions to the best of my ability. I'm never going to sit here and say that I know the answer, that I'm going to give you the perfect answer, that I'm going to give you the most direct and accurate answer. No. I'm just going to give you the answer that I have, to the best of my ability, given the circumstance and the environment that I have been presented with throughout my entire life. That's all. Okay? Thanks for listening. And remember, at the end of the day, we are here for one reason, in my opinion, and that is to make the unknown known, to make the chaos turn into some type of order, to bring light into the darkness.